call that food. Righty-ho. Now, just to deal with one thing. Now, I go around having pretty good conversations some of the time with some seemingly wiser people. I have one or two that I cherish slightly. I hope we'll continue being friends. Now, a fat man. I challenge the fat man to be better, but I know he can't be. But I care he's fat because he will live a shorter lifespan on average. Interestingly, this fat man, this is not about the fat man. Fat man, if you're watching, this is not about the fat man. The only interesting thing about the fat man is he used to drink a fair amount. He's the only person I've ever met who didn't seem to be turned into some awful lost narcissist because of alcohol. Right, the only thing I dislike is I'm going to have to speak very quickly now because I've only got 4 gigabytes left. Because normally I speak quietly and slowly. Right, super quickly. The fat man will say, you've turned your spotlight onto the southwest now. But quite the reverse. I have no interest whatsoever in the southwest. Good novels 50 years ago I read would always point out, take Goa for example. Tourism just flattens everything. I have zero interest. The only good thing about being in a different region is I don't have to be reminded of the sadness in the last region. But the purpose of me having my camera on for about a year as a normal human being, I have tried to communicate to a few people. Now that bag's there for a reason, to remind me of one woman, the only one I thought there was some hope for. But no, she can't communicate. Other than communicate her negative things in her life. When, in theory, she has a perfect life. Right. Yeah, I don't have any axe to grind at all. I'm only interested in, I've been interested in a long time, in trying to collect truths via unplanned but dual purpose. You have to be so careful, particularly women, just turn against you in a really horrible way. And I always come across in life as no axe to grind, ever. I don't. And totally a person of peace. The way they will turn if you say anything, if you share something, an uncomfortable truth. But I'm not even interested in personal uncomfortable truths. Yes, for the fat man, he gets this. And that's why he's great in certain ways, but I have no idea who he is because he won't do anything with his insight, depth, wisdom. This is going to have to go onto podcast, which I put one on this morning about one of the great tragedies that nobody will speak about. The total false industrial fucking for money Central European descent into give us your money for my spirituality. It's just, I've had a lot to do with Central Europe. Now I choose my words perfectly. I say Central Europe, and I've seen this develop over the last 10 years. Now I'm going to publish that. It's important. It's a truth. I'm only interested in one thing. If I fall over dead, one of millions of British children, and I'm going to name some names in a podcast episode in a minute, it's just one of millions who've been warped by our totally weird, screwy society. which hopefully I'll be leaving, or if I stay, I'd like to have 1 or 2 people with whom one can have sane, functional conversation whilst doing useful things, like repairing old wood. But anyway, quickly. The most important thing of all, I mean, in terms of simple life, I was talking to somebody a few days ago, and I have 20 years of chronicled chats and stuff. Right. And he got it. Like, for a man, now I'm afraid to say this is the only area of life where women have got a bit of a disadvantage. But in my old region, and it's bizarre, it doesn't happen here so much, all the public toilets were shut down 6-7 years ago. It's like you go to Hereford, you can't have a fucking pee. So when you've got a bladder infection or a urinary some problem, I had to go over to pee bottles, and to have gone to pee bottles is just the most wonderful thing. I can go anywhere. Now there are public toilets here, strangely, but in the Marches there's virtually no public toilets. In Hay-on-Wye you have to pay 30p to use the public toilet. Right, quickly. Right, that is the most useful psychological barrier to have gone through ever. Wherever I go, if I'm going for some shopping somewhere, I think before shopping, okay, do I need to pee first? It's kept in here. Now, of course, I need to change the bottle. To me, it's no big deal. It doesn't smell with the top on. Right, quickly. All I care about is, after I've departed either this life or this land, what can one say that is actually useful truths? Now, I spent 25 years based around, first of all, that place, and if I use the phrase C2 and above, I'm being slightly ironic. Everything is woven backwards. Hay-on-Wye would boast 15 years ago, we have 400,000 C2s and above coming every year to spend loads of money. Now, everywhere else in that region gradually became jealous and wanted to be the same, and I've seen how that's corrupted absolutely everybody. And that to me is interesting, and that's difficult to put into one anything, but like interesting truths. But I'm going to actually try and get in like one that's really interesting. Anyway, I've no interest in the southwest. A little place called Prestine, which is essentially now, I believe, you see, the number one thing that's happened, there are about 5 things that's happened in the last 20 years. One is the inability to get accurate information. Now, somebody said to me, there's a little settlement called Gweek. Now, somebody said to me that that's a population of 2,000. I don't know if that's true. Assume it's true. So you have a little place that basically wanted to be Hay-on-Wye, the envy amongst the town councillor type of people. And then gradually the Londoners moved in and tried to turn it into a Hay-on-Wye. Now it's a Gweek in reality. Yes, almost exactly the same demographic. Loads of fancy London incomers who pretend they didn't inherit £1 million or get a payoff for this, that and the other. But in Prestine there's about 10 tourist shops, galleries, and about 5 routine supermarket, expensive super. Oh, hello. I saw something there 4 years ago. Now, quickly. I happen to have spent 3 years totally dedicated to trying to harvest any future votes if there were a second referendum or something like that. And just quickly, because this has to be seen, what is mindfulness? That, in my unplanned, but it's time, just get it all out. Okay, I had my little weird phases in my 20s when I would go around shopping, buying things, and I bought that, like man bag, and then I got it home and thought, oh, fucking hell, how revolting. But mindfulness is 35 years on. In here, I have a second backup. That is 20 years of chronicles, audio and visual. But This rucksack is being very well used and has holes that they can't be fixed. Oh, we've got C2 and below Gorpers have just turned up. Now, I keep that in my rucksack to make sure it just fits in. Laptop, and then that. Oopsie daisy. It's like what mindfulness is, is the thing that, like, for years it's like, oh, why have I kept this? It's horrible, it's revolting, it's ugly. Turns out to be terrible. We need that. Terribly useful. Like an essential part of my ongoing life, because I have to take things out when if I go for a walk, just in case of thieving. I'll come to that another day. But quickly. Yeah, that's important. That's my poem. I want to write out my poem. Right. In the Chronicles is the reality, the interesting reality, for 3 years, going around sucking up to artists specifically, because there are many who would have open studios and gatherings. Like, they said they all cared about Europe. 2017-18, going around there, I went round Hay on Wye one Hay Festival season. Like, come on, allies, if there's going to be another vote, we need to harvest helpers, people on the same side. And essentially 2019 was a second vote. Not one of them, let's be crystal clear, in my chronicle I have hundreds of conversations with artists, all middle-aged, almost all women. Oh God, we so care, this is terrible, this is the end. Well, they don't speak properly, but I would guide them. This is an anti-enlightenment backward step. Like, they're all like, this is so destroyed our life. Well, how about after you've finished your open studio period, we gather together. There's a chap I know who went to Cambridge University. I look after him in certain ways. He's a safe man. He's got a big space. He inherited some money, but he's all right. He's not arrogant. And we could use that as a base to plan making signs, or how do we arrange groups to go around leafleting. Not one of them ever followed through anything. And in my region, I just want to clarify where I am in life. I'll put it this for the Americans. It's like yesterday there was something in about the first death sentence had been passed. There's meant to be a total moratorium. And it seems that, quite rightly, quite a few Americans now are very opposed to the death penalty. The only person I can speak with left is my friend Susie, who's a Brexiteer. Now, that's like me finding affinity with somebody. Now, I'm totally against the death sentence. I'm with the Norwegian approach to justice, which is everybody can be rehabilitated. Even Angus the lunatic killed 85 people. He got a 16-year sentence, and the community will rehabilitate, as they did with a child killer at the same time as our Bulger thing. No, in Britain, you're pariah forever. In Norway, the village has a responsibility somehow to rehumanize yourself. That's what justice is. Anyway, quickly. So, 2019 was my kind of really emotionally exhausted year. I'd been 2 years kind of landloping around, dedicated every second I could to it. Waste of time. That's the truth. That's the truth of Brexit. And the only person I can have a conversation with is somebody more or less, over a period of 3 years, somebody more or less, they're pro-death penalty, I'm anti-death penalty. Quite extremes. But it's like, that's the only person I can have a conversation with, because she doesn't jump down your fucking throat at everything. Anyway, forget her. She's lost. But this is a truth that I encountered in Britain, which shocked me. But I have to try and be able to think and say something intelligent about it. So this place called Prestine, more or less a Greek, but it has this huge, gorgeous park. And I used to go there sometimes on my old bicycle and just chill out for an hour or two in the sun, replenishing. One day, and this was, I think it was 4 years ago, autumn 2019, there were 4 kids, and it's like, got like community spirited people around who are all fake. They do a little initiative, get a grant for it, and then it turns into a cliquey thing, which I also have chronicled, but that's less interesting than what follows. So there I am one day, and about 100 yards away, there's 4 sort of late teens, possibly early 20s, I'd say 17 or 18 year olds. And you could see that they're not the kind of born, bred, real bullneck types. No, they probably went to the local art college, etc. So they come down and they're like now, nobody wears ordinary clothes anymore, jeans and t-shirt. Now they have slightly bohemian clothing, whatever. And I have zero interest. I was just lying on the grass, sunbathing or exhausted or whatever. And suddenly I hear an altercation break out. And I turn to notice. And this group of sort of seemingly ordinary, reasonably jolly, I think there were 2 women and 2 girls, 2 women, 2 young women, 2 men. Suddenly the 2 men, one of them has picked up from a pile of tent pipes from Marquee, a huge great big pipe, and is so violently attacking, chasing, I think the other guy was a ginger, because they kept shouting, "Get the ginger!" It was like, it literally was out of the I always forget its name, feral children book. It's bizarre that I always forget its name. Lord of the Flies. It was just like some terrible, and it really scared me. Like, oh, this is horrible. Even here. Because these are the truths. These people come, the lady who that bag reminds me of, like, oh, we found some rural bucolic paradise with community, etc. No, obviously local kids, or local young adults, obviously reasonably artistically educated, middle classish, suddenly this terribly violent, and it really was. I mean, this guy was trying to kill. He was trying to kill. And I'm like, oh, back out of here. So, but I couldn't stand up and go anywhere. So it's like, anyway, and it went on for about 5 minutes. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to go and intervene because this guy is very violent and he has a lethal weapon. And he did connect a few times. Anyway, and they sort of gradually move off this huge park, lovely place. But they sort of move off down towards the river. Anyway, and I'm like in shock. It's like, Jesus Christ, I came here just for ordinary, nice, chilled existence. And this has come even here. Now, I care about this for my daughter's age group. What's their reality? And I was really kind of, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes inside of me, shit, man. Because this broke out so quickly, and you do not get this kind of violence in Europe. I mean, it is said that A&E in London has noticed so much truly grisly, cruel violence coming through the last 5 to 10 years. And I've heard interviews with doctors who are saying, it's unimaginable. Anyway, so I was seeing that in a perfect little gweeky place on the borders of, like, they sell themselves through The Guardian as these ideal communities and lovely, sweet people places. Now, fucking bullshit. Now, I don't have an axe to grind, but I need to know reality. And that day, reality came and hit me. But I also need to know what to say. And then what happened next is actually interesting. But I'm not joking. This was true. It was basically attempted murder. The screams, the shouts, there's nothing fake about it. But then 10 or 15 minutes later, I see the group coming back up. And the 2 young adult men had sort of found an accommodation and were not attacking each other and sort of even speaking with each other. Now, I know for a fact that there will not have been some wise intervention. Hey, you two, bang your fucking heads together and sort this out. No, I know that won't have happened because you don't hear that wisdom from the younger generation. But somehow, my point being is that this younger generation is bad television, bad lifestyle, even that bread which you get free from the Methodist church on Mondays. I'm not criticising them. It's from Lidl. It looks like brown bread. It's fake. It's white and it's got sugar in it. So this kind of fizzed up, sugar, insane, crazed society. The kids go off on violent tangents in a way that to me is like, this really is new. This is like, sorry, that's the reality of Britain the last 10 years. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And yet, it's not something that is so utterly life and death that they can't then just be in the same space together. That is Britain. Now, I know and was dealing with and actually brought in laws connected with our appalling child services. Now, I've got to know the people that are the operators